There we are. Hi, I'm Dominic Longman, Head of Product for Trustology. So thanks to the 5th AML directive, I can say we're a custodial wallet provider. What custody means is a very interesting one because no one bloody knows. I'm an ex-banker. I'll apologise now to all those young people who hate banks and all that kind of stuff. I was previously at the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, so that was really refreshing because I could beat banks up. I was one of the world's largest sovereign wealth funds. This tells you kind of in a rough picture of how the banking infrastructure works. Most of you will know there's a huge amount of centralisation, huge amount of specialisation. There's a huge amount of people in that world who think their jobs are super important and really, really difficult and critical. And so to tell them actually this blockchain thing's coming and it's all going to change is something that's going to take a while, right? You know, there's some expertise in that. Around that, you have a network. Are you all aware of the SWIFT financial network? Okay. Supposed to be for financial telecommunications, so they should be talking to us, but I'm still knocking at their door very, very regularly. That has a centralization risk in itself, and that's how I got interested in blockchain. I looked at Ripple and other bits beforehand, and I'm going to time out ever so often, which is going to be annoying. Sorry, policy we have, mainly because we hack each other's MacBooks otherwise. At Adia, you may be aware that in 2007, Iran was taken off the SWIFT network by the US. So when you're as big as they are, you kind of go, well, if they aren't friendly with us, maybe they might take off us as well, right? No one country should have that kind of geopolitical power. So I was looking at ways to mitigate that. Blockchain is in no way, shape or form there yet, but it's something that could change and deal with that geopolitical issue. So that's kind of the world we're in today. What does actually custody mean? Well, it's holding safekeeping assets, settlement of trades, corporate actions, foreign exchange on behalf of your clients, NAV, other services, sub-custody, because you might be dealing in a certain equity in South America that you're over the other side of the world and your current large custodian, BNY, doesn't actually know what they're doing over there, so you use them as well. Problem with that is if there's an issue with that transaction, guess what? Bank of America could go, oh, sorry, not my problem. You've got to deal with those guys over there, and you've got a major issue, right? There's huge problems on the front side of that. None of that right now is really applicable in the blockchain space. Yet there's all these companies calling themselves custodians or doing custody, right? Even the holding safekeeping of assets. Well, what's that mean? Because the assets on the chain, the key is actually what you're really caring about. Pipes to platforms, all of those businesses are just lined up there are very much around kind of centralized pipe businesses. They do not really easily move into a platform world, and as Mish was pointing out, he's building a platform business, and that's what we're trying to do as well. Fat protocols. Again, that whole piece around the blockchain itself, I'd actually look at that application layer is exactly what he's talking about, and the speculation over the protocol layer and the value that that's going to grow. That's where Joe gets involved, from Joe Lubin from Ethereum, and his whole play on everyone using it, and guess what? His ether is going to go up. Smart contracts, mass customization trust. Absolutely. I think he's done most of the work for me today. Right now, when I had my previous job, when I had 10 custodians, and I'd go to them and say, look, right, I need you to do something different for me. I'm a massive premium customer of yours. I'm on a 10-year contract with you. Do something different. Very slow to react. Probably wouldn't really do it in a timely fashion, and was killing businesses and killing opportunities in the financial markets. I now don't know why that's come up. So if you look at what smart contracts should give us, right, is that ability on platforms to allow for these businesses to suddenly move forward because you have a programmable custodial capability, and the smart contract becomes a company or a custodian in itself, right? Quite possibly. Because what is a company, right? It has an ability to control assets. I can't remember the exact legal definition. That's what a smart contract can do. Financial inclusion. Yes, all of those individual players, existing markets. I can get T0. I don't get that hyped about as a thing with blockchain. You know what? I can go to State Street, and if I'm big enough to get T0 today, that doesn't change. what blockchain does, what Misha is doing, what many other firms like him are doing. It's about the financial inclusion. It's about the openness, the transparency, opening up access markets. Some of you would probably have read Snow Crash, a book out there that we all look to where people are paying their coffee with small amounts of stock. This is what this kind of capability can get us to. Where do we fit in? Well, actually, there's still a hell of a long way to go. And actually, the major issue with decentralization is a lot of that institutional money, a lot of those institutional players love having centralized parties involved because it gives them someone to beat up when something goes wrong, right? And this is where a custodial wallet provider is likely to come in because it's an on-ramp, off-ramp capability. It's still a centralized possible entity to actually deal with those individuals. I look at great stuff like multi-party computation, decentralization of key management, great future, might have some plans around that ourselves, but there's still a huge amount of way to go. I hear about institutional money coming in when 100 million moves the whole market, and I've got someone going, oh, look, the bear market's over, isn't it amazing? Everything's back up. It's like one trade. Long way to go in this space. This kind of capability, and I'm going to time out again, is where we come in. A lot of the people that we spoke to, so Alex, whose idea it really was, he set up utility settlement coin. He was at UBS. We can talk about the iPad being signed off by UBS as a signing transaction device in-house, and that was the only device that was because of the way that the securing claim beats up separately. Don't really care about decentralization, but they love immutability. They love the fact that there's something out there that no one can change. The fact that that can be run centrally on a cut-down version of Ganache, say, and then run out and closed out to a public blockchain later on, perfectly a viable option. And that's what we're doing. We're looking at a smart contract platform that can go and be run in that environment. So that could be your rebalancing rules. That could be your transition management rules. It could actually be a smart contract that says, you know what, for this period of time, my wife can have a certain, or boyfriend or husband or whatever, could have a certain amount of access to my certain amount of assets, bringing wealth management down to the individual level at a far cheaper price point. But that's kind of the sort of transitionary step you see. Hopefully then we'll see the decentralized exchanges kick off, and we'll see where that gets to. But this is a kind of migratory step to allow for institutions to really start moving in, because we still have a liability of us being involved in the middle. As was talked about, it's everything is decentralized, great, but you've still got to look after your keys. There is no way to recover you particularly easily. You can have those seed words that people put on iTunes in their iCloud, right, and their photos, and then they wonder why they get hacked. It's a pain in the arse, right? Physical cyber attacks, Ledger Nano, they're great. I've got one. Problem is, when everything crashed and my ICOs tanked from 50,000 to about 200, of course it was sat at home. I had no access to it, right? So that was a problem. Also, if you're sitting in a coffee shop and get a Ledger Nano out, well, someone knows you're doing stuff, right? So I love the fact that you're using iPhones, ubiquitous devices. Lack of native safeguards, right? So this is where that smart contract level comes in, right? The irreversibility to some is an issue. To some it's brilliant, right? Unintended transactions, again, those kind of control points, what is the whitelist, the blacklist, the certain amount of controls, etc. All of those are challenges, also not necessarily, if you look at smart contracts in the future, for reacting to certain market conditions. It's also troubled. I mean, this is old, right? This slide is old. That was 1900, that's at times. That's not just focused on Ethereum. We were originally backed by Consensus. We separated out in November last year. We did a separate funding raise. Again, because we absolutely love the Consensus and Joan and Jeremy and the guys, but we needed to have a separate amount of independence and have some other funding come in. And because we're old and grey-haired and connected enough, we were lucky to get to Sigma hedge funding, right? And again, part of the issues you face, we saw that, so we were like, all right, not going to go down that path. Part of the problem with bank accounts. Speak to SVB. How do you manage these keys? Well, do you know what? There's some pretty old school stuff. Paper wallets. Paper damage or theft. I've even seen some solutions out there which had the paper wallet concept, but printed on a particular type of paper which was linked to some mechanical robots because the vault didn't allow for electricity in the vault to manage your private keys, and they're going to charge you for that. Good luck to you. I think it's brilliant scrappy challenge stuff. Not looking after my money. Pretty obvious concerns with paper wallets. You look after them, they get damaged, my kids have ripped them apart, something along those lines. Software wallets, right. So, this is not necessarily related to what Lisa and the guys are doing, but storing the key on the phone, right? Problem with that is, what if you lose your phone, right? You are not recoverable. Possible attack vectors by malware into the devices. I will go on to pieces. Do not trust Android. Yes, we absolutely want to get to Android. Yes, there is a market. Titan chip in the Google Pixel 3 is probably the only thing we start working against right now. Trust zones are bullshit. Everyone can hack those. Yes, the iPhone can be done by the 8200 in Israel, but it takes them a huge amount of time to do an iPhone. So anything is hackable. If anyone says it's not, it's rubbish. But, right, there is certain levels that it takes. Trust zone on an older Android device, 30 seconds to a minute, for somebody knows what to do. So, we look at Android, but only the latest ones. Hardware wallets. They've been hacked. People have created copy versions, so you've actually got them from the factory, and it looks like it's fully wrapped, but you don't know the provenance of the device. Backup worries again, you've still got to memorize the PIN. Also, I'm an old man, what if I had a stroke, right? Suddenly my family don't have access to it. Things like that. Major particular issues, but I still use one. Brilliant product. I like the Ledger guys. What we needed to move things forward, but we now need to get to the next step of what we're doing here. Well, I don't have to say anything more than finance today. Right, omnibus structures, you don't actually own most of what's going on. You know, you're relying on their accounting position. They have control and own of the assets. You don't have it, right? Operational risks. Most of them, we do an operational due diligence on any of them from a big side. And this is why, again, I talk about institutionally not necessarily coming in just yet. You've written to pieces. Again, the Canadian bloke on the laptop. And credit risk amount. Standard old school stuff. And that's why you have a custodian in the old world and don't let your exchange do custody. Cold storage, pretty easy to hack if you've got some of these USB sticks that people are moving back and forth across. I go over to the operator's family. That'll be an easy one, but actually, if they are doing USB sticks or other those processes, those USB sticks, provenance on those, yes, you can get flipped ones, but some of those can hack in the factory in China before you even got it. There are also, look at it this way, it's really a slow internet connection. I'm old enough to remember 56k. There's still an input and output, you're moving back and forth, there's still a very slow attack vector. It's not bad. Problem is, it's got huge latency issues, access times, and then you end up with warm wallets. I still don't really know what one of those is. So, challenges, I don't even really know what cold storage is. And I don't think the regulators do anyway. Mauritius just talk about one that isn't directly internet connected. That could be anything. So what do? We hope we fix the particular issue. We have all those great concepts of smart contracts and everything else, but actually when we sat down, it was the key management that needed to be fixed. So we have our own offering, which is personal business accounts. You can operate with us. So instead of me talking, I will talk to the next couple of slides. I'll talk to the platform, and then we can get into some of that tech bit. How many people here know what an HSM is? Either a security module, virtually every bank has one, practicing SWIFT, holding their certificates. We use, and I'll be completely transparent, and why I do this is because I don't want any idiot coming after us and trying to attack us, because they should know that we have no access to the capability. Gemalto's programmable area, we have actually, don't get into the technicality because this is where my level finishes. G-Code CS11, which is the interface on those ones, we've actually cut that back and put our own particular bespoke code in that. that has the signed code and put the sign out onto the chain, so you can come back and if you're dealing with a large entity, we can recreate that code for them, explaining what's going on there. Because otherwise they'll be asking, how do you know that Tom hasn't put some code in there that's going to rip you off? That's really annoying. I keep trying to connect to Wi-Fi. We do not store the keys in there. We don't store the keys in there for good reason. One, for capacity perspective, I think only roughly have 40,000 key slots in most of them. It also means that if one of those goes down or gets taken away, we can round robin and move it to somewhere else. What we do is store your private keys whilst they're at rest, wrapped in AS256, which to this point, as far as you're aware, hasn't been hacked. Still hackable. From a master key that is stored in there, which is then linked to the 5 or 6 or 7 cards that you use to redeem the card. We store that in AWS. Cloud HSM, thank you very much. I'm now become an AWS salesman. All of our code and policies and procedures are all in Lambdas. So again, using Terraform, we can spin them up. We can port to Azure if you don't like AWS. We can run it in any region. So it gives us immediate kind of resiliency. Our only physical footprint is that. We can connect to any number of those that we have in any data center around the world. What we do is rather than we do store a key on the phone and securing claim, what we call an instruction key. So any signature or transaction that's sent from our device is signed with that key, cutting down the line in the middle of attack. It then goes through a huge amount of policies and procedures and technical checks and safeguards in our AWS environment. Picks up your relevant private key, which is currently wrapped in AS256, moves it into the programmable hardware, unwraps the key in there, uses it to sign your transaction. So your transaction has been signed in a whole environment, Mercury switches, everything else. And then right now it's in Ethereum, sent on to Imperial to sign. We do that in about 350 milliseconds. So I will now shift, if I can, to a quick demo. Which is, of course, this is when Imperial lets me down. So this is me, Face ID, as was described, everything gives that protection. So these are all mainnet Ether accounts. I don't have a huge amount left. I've been dealing with way too many times. But what this does tell you is suddenly become really easy to manage a huge amount of private keys. So to your question about what if someone can see all my money, well, actually, you can spread it across multiple accounts. So people, you might send from one account, and they will see a certain amount. They won't send it for another account. So say, let's pick on Joe. Joe Luby then sitting on God knows how much he would move a certain amount that he needs to pay to an account and then send from that. That's an easy way, because we're doing everything right now in segregated on-chain accounts. We can offer omnibus accounts, some of the exchanges want that, but we'd rather not at this point in time. We'll try that again. So, let's create an account. I'll show you how easy it is. So let's call this ETH London. And select ETH, Bitcoin coming soon. No, come on. You see, perfect. There you go. Let's see how my 3G is working here. Face ID again, everything is signed transactions. Yeah, I've already got more than 20 accounts. Right. We are lifting that limit. That's just something we've done for capacity reasons at the moment that you can do. This could be scalable to hundreds. Let's do a move of money anyway, right? So I am going to pick my FAQ trust pool, get my QR code. Obviously, it'd be easier if you're doing devices. I'm going to do go pull out, that's 264. Go to my ETH account, do a new transaction, time down. You can see I was just not prepared here. Do a 0.01, put that one in. We picked up the default gas price from gas station. You can change that to increase that. Continue again, reconfirm the transaction, confirm and send, Face ID, and then that's going on its merry way. We're now reliant on Imperial, and again we can click into the scan in a moment. So that's sent. We picked up your private key in that case, moved it into the physical HSM into the tier 4 data center. sign the transaction, sends it on. So that's a public account kind of model, and of course now I'm just waiting for Imperial to do its thing. Come on, I'm still going to be in pending state. Come on, Imperial. Oh, we'll get back to that. But you'll see that update hopefully in a minute. But back to the recovery component. What we have done is the key that is on here is not a key that you're signed with. It's just a key that tells us you are you, or part of the process that's changes you are you. So you haven't had to do any 2412C phrases, anything else like that. Just like the token card teams, we are doing upfront an onboarding process. So we are using on Fido, standard, most other Starling, everyone else is using them. So we capture your driving license, we do KYC, we do video capture. And why we do that is not so much to make sure you're not anyone doing anything dodgy, although part of that is obviously we look to then sell this to large financial institutions who will keep friendly with for the next 5 years until hopefully the whole market changes. But we can recover you. Because then, now that we know roughly you are you, we can then pick, let's say you lose your phone. Rubbish. I go to the iPhone store, I get another one. I go to the App Store, I download the app again. You log in with your credentials and pass your PIN, it talks back to our backend. My backend says, right, this device doesn't have a key related to your account. This must be in a recovery mode scenario. Allows us to know recovery, we'll kick off. You have to go through KYC again. So again, same credentials, same driving license. If you're unsure, we can go through a video call, Zoom, everyone else to contact you. Now, if we like that and we think you're you, one person then hands off to a number of others with UB keys, because if I had access, I could just recover your accounts to me and rip you off. So we split out that whole process. That then allows for recovery, so we can then move that back to access, back to the device, and do that within the day from a recovery process. 2 to 3 hours normally, depending on how the process takes. What we're doing with our multi-sig capability, which I don't have right now, and that has got to update by now. Come on. There's my face. Come on. I'm sweating here. Come on, Phil. No, what is going on? Still impending. It must have put a really low price on it. Anyway, but also then that fixes scenarios where, let's say someone has unfortunately a death in the family or whatever, your assets aren't lost, you can then manage that through legal construct. When it comes to multi-sig, what we're doing is a multi-sig, not relying on a Bitcoin multi-sig or an Ethereum multi-sig. That multi-sig through our processing is useful for our smart contract, but it's allowed you so you can do it across any of your asset classes. You can do it by time bound, so if you think there's a market condition coming and you're a fund, you can change your controls, procedures as necessary. But what that also means is, let's say there's enough quorum within the multi-sig, you can self-recover. So one of the 5 of you in your company loses your device, idiot, got drunk, left it in the cab, goes to the store, get another one, you can self-recover as well. When it comes to Ethereum and blockchain and Bitcoin and everything else we're at right now, we are very much targeted on, looking at the institutional plays, banking plays. So everything that you've just seen can be API. We, like you, looking at Android. Asia market is obvious for Android. The challenge is obviously the device security has not been to a level we would look for. Even though we're not storing your private key in there, we're just storing a key that tells us you're you. And we recover the web message. I've enough the question.